This is Brian Gordon with Chapter 6 of the Spellgrazer Saga. Chapter 6, Emerald Blazes.
What do you suppose all this is?
Ronce's voice was barely even a whisper. Bad, Dunwall cautiously replied. Even in the strange light he had seen Chandra's complexion shift. As I am aware of him, I am certain he is aware of us. She sounded calm and made no effort to hide her voice. Yes, I feel the tarnished soul lurking as well, my dear. Friends, we have stumbled onto the foul spirit left by the wizard from the donkey's tail. Barlow sounded upset by the disturbance he felt, and he is most displeased with our efforts. With no reason to hide anymore, they grouped up near the entryway of the wizard's sanctum. Before them, from thin air appeared an ethereal vision of a robed man with scarves wrapped around his head and shoulders, a hollow outline glowing green and white as it hung in the center of the room. Flames burst from strange green candles circling the room. The wicks burned in the same emerald hue as the apparition and bathed the room in an eerie light.
Welcome, fools,
a disjointed voice warped in from all directions.
to your end.
The candles flared into small pyres, and the flames merged into one large column of the strange green fire that shot toward them like a hand reaching to grab them in its clutches. Barlow gestured quickly and whispered. A white ring encircled them, and the halo above his head shined brightly. Tongues of fire licked up around them, but did not come within the glowing ring. The protection that Barlow provided held. Chandra hastily cast a spell that infused Dunwall's shield with a mystic ward that would help protect him from the wizard's power, and he charged toward the pillar of fire that Barlow was holding back. To his surprise, the shield did not even get warm, and he pushed against the force that channeled the attack at him with all of his might. He had never fought a fire before, at least not this way, and was unsure of what to expect. As he neared the epicenter of the firestorm, Ronce came up behind him and took a swing toward the ghastly figure channeling the emerald pyre. While Dunwall had pushed the flames back, Barlow had switched his attention to Ronce, whose blades he had empowered with Heronsol's blessings. The blades caught the wraith-like apparition. With a hiss, it blinked away like a snuffed candle, and the blazing whirlwind retreated. Their relief was only temporary, though, as the figure appeared once more against the far wall, and with a motion of his hands, the flames jumped to life yet again, except this time they wrapped themselves around him like armor, and slid into his hands to form two flaming swords. Both of his arms crossed his chest as he prepared to strike. He laid flat in the air and swooped down towards Dunwall. Flames poured from his back like ghastly wings. The ward Chandra had put in place helped to defuse the blow, but the sheer force knocked Dunwall off of his feet entirely. Ronce fell out of the way in time to avoid collision and tried for a glancing swing as he moved. The fiery armor deflected his blow. There was barely enough time for Barlow to finish his invocation before the wizard's ghost was upon him. His prayer was heard just in time, and a blinding shield of white light appeared and blocked the devastating attack. The blow smashed him back into the wall with tremendous force, and the wizard continued to press against him, emerald blazes licking at his face. Chandra acted quickly and called upon her own arcane knowledge. A dark energy surrounded her, and then formed into lances that shot forth from her arms. As the spines of energy collided with the wizard, they sent him flying into the rounded walls above the shelves to the left of Barlow. Windows on each side shattered from the impact. From his position on the ground, Dunwall was unable to tell exactly what had happened, but he did notice that when the wizard hit the wall, two of the candles in the circle on the ground next to him flickered out. Quickly as possible, he stood up and hoped that Chandra's ward still held as he leaped through the air and slammed his shield against the vile apparition. Magic collided with magic, and Dunwall hung in midair for a moment before the evil essence teleported away once more, this time appearing back over the circle of jade candles. Another small pillar of flame had sputtered out. Dunwall came crashing down again, but quickly pulled himself to his feet and took his place in front of the group. The remaining blazes flared with the wizard's temper. Waves of hatred poured out of him like heat and washed over the small group, once more gathered within the ring of light on the ground that kept them safe through the furious display. Deafening sounds of 1,000 billowing roars filled their ears as the bright green flames wrapped around their protective ring. Chandra still crackled with energy, and Barlow's halo shined brightly. Its light revealed blood that trickled down his face. Together, they held strong even in the glowing green firestorm surrounding them, but it was Ronce who made the next move. He sent a dagger, still seething with the power of Heronsol, flying straight toward the wizard where it caught the nefarious spirit in the chest, straight through the blazing armor that flared with its rage. Dunwall assisted by charging headfirst into the fury before them, still protected by Chandra's magic. He met the wizard with equal rage. His shield made contact and drove the wizard into the wall behind, and was knocked back by the pulsing waves of destruction. As he stumbled back to begin a new attack, he noticed a flurry of energy coursing out from Chandra and pounding down on the spirit. Ronce's blade still held within the wretched creature's chest. Another of the candles went out, with only one remaining. As he finished a gesture, Barlow's hand shot forward, his palm the source of a radiant white light to which Ronce's blade was reacting. At first it shimmered until it flashed brightly and sent the power of the light coursing through their tormentor's body. Dunmore watched as the ephemeral corpse clawed at its chest before exploding into an assortment of green waves, dissipating as they propagated outwards. The last of the candles flicked out with a puff of thick, white smoke. "This is not the end!" The cry faded into nothing as the last bits of the sorcerer's vile shadow returned to the void.
Noisy old bat. Glad that's over.
Ronsa remarked. Dunmore nodded in agreement. "We have only managed to diminish his power for a time. We dare not linger in this sanctum for too long, lest we face him once he has regained strength," Chandra concluded. Barlow collapsed on the floor from the strain that his body had been put through, channeling all of the forces that held in his last attack and throughout the whole battle. Chandra rushed to his side and used one of her scarves to wipe the blood from his face. She retrieved an elixir from her bag, which she poured lightly into his mouth. Upon tasting the mystical concoction, Barlow's eyes opened once more and his breathing became steady again. The battle had been rough on all of them, but Barlow had pushed himself well beyond normal limits. They took a moment to recover. Each of them had a bite of the sweet rolls Chandra somehow kept producing from her satchel. "We have done well so far, I'd say. Slaughtering demons and defeating a wizard's ghost are not everyday activities," Dunmore chimed in as they ate. "I fear this will be a most daunting task, but should we survive, mine gods will be most pleased." Barlow's voice was still shaky from his collapse, but his optimistic personality seemed intact. While they ate and drank, Chandra looked about on the shelves, no longer illuminated by the emerald blazes. After a moment of pawing through the dark, she sniffled, and 2 sets of torches near the hallway openings burst to life. It wasn't an enormous amount of light, but it was enough for her to use while scavenging through the shelves and scrolls that adorned the room. Before they were finished with their small meal, she held up a book into light. "Aha! I've found the spellbook of our foe!" Chandra exclaimed. Dunmore looked at her in question for a moment before the pieces all fell into place. "So we might be able to undo the magics worked on the donkey?" He assumed that was what she meant. As she nodded and began explaining details that he had no understanding of whatsoever, he started to wonder how old the Donkey King might be, and whether or not the aging process was the same for animals and people who had been turned into animals. Did the Frog Prince turn into an old man when he finally convinced a fair maiden to willingly afford him a kiss? Many other questions rattled through his head, but there was another time and another place for that sort of learning. The food had since been devoured, and they were gathering their things to move on. Thank you for joining me for Chapter 6.